With the new Matt Reeves Batman movie on the horizon, and now with our first official look at Robert Pattinson in the bat suit, I thought now would be a great time to talk about what I hope to see in these new films, more specifically, who I hope to see in these new films. So today I'll be counting down the top 10 characters I hope to see show up at some point or another in these new Matt Reeves Batman movies. The only caveat is that they couldn't be any of the characters we have already heard that are confirmed for this upcoming film. So, no Catwoman, Riddler, Penguin, Alfred, Bruce, Gordon, etc., etc. Kicking us off at number 10 is the only tie on this list. It's my list, I make the rules. Deal with it. I lumped two characters together because they're both lower tier Batman villains with admittedly dumb names, but both present tremendous potential on the big screen, those being Calendar Man and Professor Pig. Yes, I know they're dumb names, but stick with me. While they may not be the most recognizable or most well-known villains, what they could bring to a film could be very intriguing. Calendar Man, aka Julian Day, is a psychopath that is obsessed with dates and kills victims based off of holidays. His most famous appearance is in Batman The Long Halloween and its sequel Dark Victory, as almost a Hannibal Lecter type character that constantly knows more than he lets on. Imagine a Batman movie where the Dark Knight has to track down an unknown threat and had to seek out an evil mind to figure out that evil mind on the loose. That evil man in turn could be Professor Pig. Now, Pig is more like a demented plastic surgeon who is absolutely terrifying. He's obsessed with making his little piggies perfect, obsessed with fixing the supposed flaws in an individual. In a world of countless crime dramas on TV with serial killers on the loose, translate that into the world of Batman. Have the Bat track down a sick and twisted serial killer with a signature way of murder, perhaps with the help of a sick and twisted killer with a signature of his own. At number 9, we have the first of several characters that have already been seen in previous Batman films, but whom I would like to see another crack being taken at for one reason or another. While I enjoyed his first appearance in Batman Begins, I would love to see Matt Reeves take on Ras al Ghul. While I appreciate Christopher Nolan's more grounded and realistic approach to the famed Batman villain, I also would love to be able to see the more out there parts of the character. With Shazam and now Black Adam on the way, DC has shown its willingness to delve into the magic and the mystical elements of the comic book source material. So, let's bring that magic and mysticism back to the head of the demon. Ras al Ghul is a character that has lived for hundreds of years thanks to the help of the Lazarus Pit, a mystical pool that more or less revives him even if he's inches away from death. Let's see the pit, let's see the true Ras al Ghul, fanciful cape and all. Maybe even lead to some Damian teases if they really want to expand the universe and tease the fans. While I like the original big screen incarnation of Ras al Ghul, the same cannot be said for our number 8, Poison Ivy. What can be said about Batman and Robin that hasn't been said 1,000 times over by people far smarter than I? While the film has countless problems, one of its biggest was its representation of its three major villains, including Uma Thurman as Pamela Isley. As a kid that grew up with Batman the Animated Series, I saw Poison Ivy on a regular basis, and she, to me, was on par with the other big-name villains like Two-Face, Catwoman, Penguin, etc. While she had a presence in the three main Arkham games, I never felt that Ivy was really given her own time to shine on the big screen and been presented to her fullest potential. A villainess with the power of nature itself could be fascinating to see, especially with modern special effects. Maybe even have some climate change commentary to add an extra layer to her character. Just throwing that out there. We need more Poison Ivy. Now, admittedly, as much as I would love to see my number 7 show up in these new Batman movies, I fully acknowledge that his appearance wouldn't be for a while, if ever. That, of course, is Jason Todd, more specifically, Red Hood. Controversial opinion time. Jason Todd is my least favorite Robin Batman ever had, including Damian. However, his character being beaten to death and then blown up by the Joker may have actually been the best thing for him, because he became immensely more interesting once he came back to life using the aforementioned Lazarus Pit. From that point forward, he left the Robin moniker behind to establish himself as the anti-hero and sometimes villainous Red Hood. Admittedly, this would be a far-off thing, as we would need to establish not one, but 2 Robins, kill that second one off, bring him back to life. All of this would take quite a bit of time in several movies for it to develop. That being said, the appeal of Red Hood is having a villain that was so closely tied to Batman, trained under him, and is such a personal part of Bruce Wayne and Batman's life, And to have such a personal attack on the Bat could make for one of the most emotional confrontations in any Batman film. If you want proof, just look up the fantastic finale to the Under the Red Hood animated movie.
Why? I'm not talking about killing Penguin or Scarecrow or Dent. I'm talking about him. Just him. And doing it because he took me away from you.
For number 6, we have another character that has close connections with Batman, except it's more likely that this character will show up before Jason Todd for several reasons. The first being, we already have the door open to her arrival with her father, James Gordon, already been cast by Jeffrey Wright. I'm of course referring to Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. The other reason she may appear sooner than most other Bat family members is that a solo Batgirl film has been in the works since before Justice League in various stages of development, with Joss Whedon being initially brought on. However, I've always been one to assume that that was probably just a cover for him to replace Zack Snyder on Justice League, but that's neither here nor there. Warner Bros. Recently stated that it was a project that they are in fact actively working on, which remains to be seen. The big question would be whether or not it is tied to this Batman universe or stand apart as its own solo thing. Either way, I want to see Barbara Gordon in these new films and continue to grow the Bat family, as that to me is a big part of the Batman mythos that has been shortchanged in these live-action adaptations. Taking things back to villains that didn't get their fair shake their first time out in live-action form, for number 5 is Poison Ivy's partner in Batman and Robin, Mr. Freeze. To me, no Batman villain has been so misrepresented and is in more need of cinematic redemption than that of Victor Freeze, aka Mr. Freeze. Bad ice puns aside,
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Arnold was just a bad choice for Freeze and truly did not do justice to the character. The powerful thing about Freeze and what makes him such a fantastic character is being so sympathetic. Everything he does is for his dying wife Nora, who he keeps frozen until he can find a cure to save her. In this aspect, I would love for the movies to take a page from Gotham, in which they actually had a cure for Nora. Victor found a cure for her, but that wasn't the issue. It was bringing her back from her frozen state, which was actually a nice twist on the character. Freeze is an incredibly intelligent but also tragic villain that can make for an incredibly well-rounded character that I would love to see the Batman face off against. Someone not truly evil, but willing to do whatever it takes to save the one he loves. For number 4, we have easily the longest shot to appear in any of these films, but hey, a man can dream, can he? I say it's a long shot because this character has only ever appeared in one animated movie, a brief story arc in the Batman Beyond comics, and will be appearing in an upcoming Batman story arc with Catwoman. However, for longtime Batman fans, the impact of this villain can never be understated. The Phantasm. For those unfamiliar, the Phantasm is an almost spectral figure that stalks and murders key mobsters in Gotham City. However, bearing a slight resemblance to Batman from a distance, people begin to accuse the Dark Knight of these said murders. What you could do for this movie is essentially Batman tracking down the killer just like in the animated movie, providing a good balance of mystery and a little bit of horror. The nice thing is you wouldn't even need to bring in the character under the mask into this universe, so they created a new character for the Mask of the Phantasm movie. You wouldn't need to do that for this. You could just put someone in the Phantasm mask, because there's been other people that have taken up the mantle of the Phantasm. Just establish the Phantasm as somebody else, maybe even one entirely new character posing in the cult classic persona. As a longtime Batman fan, I would absolutely lose my mind if we ever got a classic like end credit scene where we don't even see anything. All we hear is,
Bruce Wayne, your angel of death awaits.
If the Phantasm is a pipe dream, I could certainly see number 3 being a much more believable option, and one I would actually say I could see happening at some point in these new movies. While a relatively new villainous organization in the Batman canon, only being established in 2011, the Court of Owls has quickly gone up the ranks of the all-time great Batman villains. So the Court of Owls is essentially a secret society of Gotham's elite that have secretly been running the city without anyone ever knowing for over 100 years. If anyone gets in their way or tries to stop them, the court sends an assassin called a Talon that they have trained for decades upon decades, who also may or may not tie into my number 1 pick. I would love to see Batman discover that maybe he doesn't know Gotham as well as he thinks, and he also may have to wrestle with the fact that his family may or may not have been involved with this organization if we want to tie in the aspects of legacy. Maybe he gets an invitation from the court themselves to join their ranks as one of Gotham's elite. For Batman to take on more than just a single villain, but a whole entity that challenges both his Batman and Bruce Wayne personas really interests me. Plus, with Reeves' supposed emphasis on the detective aspect of the character, I would love to see the Bat part of a larger mystery taking place within Gotham. If there is one Batman villain that has yet to get any form of live-action incarnation that deserves to be the headline villain for a film, it's Tommy Elliot, aka Hush. Tommy was a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's who, like Wayne, was born into a family of wealth and had tragedy strike his parents when he was young. However, Tommy is almost like the dark reflection of Bruce, as he was the one that killed his own parents. Years later, he would adopt the identity of Hush, a villain so cunning he was able to manipulate some of Gotham's most corrupt villains for his own plans. As soon as Matt Reeves announced he wanted to return the character of Batman to his more stripped back and detective roots, my mind immediately went to my favorite story arc, which is Batman Hush and the character of Hush. In the story, someone incapacitates Batman and nearly kills him, thus leading to a fantastic twisting and turning narrative that I would love to see some version of a live-action film with Hush leading the pack. It doesn't need to be in a direct adaptation, but an inspired by type story, if you will. It could be something similar to Harry Osborn's portrayal in the original Spider-Man trilogy of a character established to be a close friend of our main hero, and throughout the series, changes the perspective to become one of their greatest enemies. However, if Batman is to face all these great enemies, he needs his greatest ally, not announced for the film so far, the boy wonder himself, Dick Grayson, for my number one pick for who needs to be in these upcoming Batman films. Another sad, unfortunate victim of Batman and Robin, and Batman Forever before that, Robin has yet to be seen in any live-action film, while he's been making some appearances on TV and animation, well, except for a quick glance at his suit implying his death before Batman v Superman, but the less said about that, the better. If Matt Reeves is truly embracing the world that Batman inhabits and all its many assets, the Bat family can't be far behind. And if the rumor mill is anything to go by, Robin will eventually make his grand return to the franchise at some point in the near future. While I have my fingers crossed for his appearance in the first film, it's far more realistic to expect him to be in the sequel. That way we can establish Batman in the first one and all of his friends later. Earlier for Red Hood, I said we would have to wait a while, and Robin is why. We can't go straight into Jason Todd Robin and then immediately kill him off. No, we need to start with the original, the classic, and the best Robin, Dick Grayson. To me, Grayson is just as big a part of the Batman mythos as Alfred, albeit one that the filmmakers have been more reluctant to have on the big screen. Not only was Dick Batman's first sidekick, he's also the true successor to the mantle in the event of anything happening to Bruce Wayne. Even when Dick leaves Batman's side, he only becomes better as Nightwing. Warner Bros. Even announced a Nightwing film years ago with the Lego Batman director Chris McKay on board. However, development has been quiet on that front, and now I kind of believe plans have shifted to introducing him first in these Batman films before building him up as Nightwing, which admittedly is a better plan, even if it means having to wait that much longer for it. The character of Dick Grayson has so many interesting story possibilities to explore, from the estranged father-son dynamic, the loss of his parents, the split from Batman, and maybe even his connection to the Court of Owls. There's so much possibility to the character that I can't see how they wouldn't use him eventually down the line in these Batman movies. Well, what do you guys think? Who are some Batman characters that you hope to see at some point in these new movies? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.